Bonjour et noir. Nas non dish nakas. Kagito nomak. Gom. Agwanoda. Putewad mizish monish nakadek. What does one need to start learning this Potawatomi language, or what we call Bodewadmim one? Some call Nishnabem one. How does one start? Where does one begin? Often asked questions. I have often advised folks that one doesn't learn any language properly unless one hears it all of the time. You have to be immersed in it. One does not effectively learn to speak any language by reading or writing it alone. Yet many people do exactly that. There are some folks that start learning Potawatomi or Nishnabem, whichever you choose to call it, by reading it. And then they will ask you how to spell something in the language. In fact, they begin to dwell on the correct way to spell certain things and will even argue about spelling it with others. No, that's not the way you spell it. I didn't see it that way. And the arguments go on and on. When I was teaching this language in a charter school up at Wilson, Michigan for the Hannahville Potawatomi, I usually did not allow students to see anything written, nor did I allow them to read any Potawatomi materials until much later. I tend to do that with people who I sense are really serious about learning this language because it's called developing the listening. You have to develop your hearing. I would generally have them sit and listen to the language rather than read it. And we just talk in the language about anything: the weather, my shoes, my coat, my hair, the way they dressed, everyday things that happened in the school. After about 3 or 4 weeks of just listening to the language, they would have had their listening capabilities sharpened by reason of use, I say, through our speaking the language to them during this period of class time. And a lot of times we take them on walks. I'd just take them outside. If it was a nice day, I'd take them for a walk. I was free to do what I wanted to do. And I'd talk about the plants, I'd talk about the trails, I'd talk about the trees, I'd talk about anything. If I saw a nice looking car, I'd talk about the car, talk about the tire, just as long as it was in Potawatomi. Then it became time, after that period of acquainting their listening capabilities, their hearing capabilities, then it became time to introduce them to reading the language in a semi-immersion experience, right in the classroom. Often writing short phrases on the blackboards or dry erase boards, whatever was situated in the classroom. Sometimes we had both. We would never teach them one word at a time, never. So that is not the way one learns to speak any language effectively. We taught them in simple phrases, utilizing words they had already learned from reading the basic Potawatomi materials that we had available. And we created our own materials from scratch because they didn't have any. There were Ojibwe materials prior to that. And sometimes I'd even use Ojibwe materials because I realized that some of the students were more familiar with Ojibwe at that point in time when we first started back in 1997 than they were Potawatomi. But slowly, the Bodewadmi sounds took over. There are basics one must learn to recognize when starting to speak a new language. Let me demonstrate by giving some examples. I'm talking about the sound. ah, eh, e, o, and sometimes we'd add I, eh, ah. 8 basic sounds. Ah, eh, I, o, eh, I, and ah. Those are the basic sounds we would have. But we'd have to teach them what I would call the building blocks of the language as well. Neen, starting with the emphatic pronouns. Neen, meaning I. But neen can mean me, mine, or my as well, depending on how you use it. Geen, meaning you, your, or yours. Ween, meaning he, she, him, her, and sometimes it. Ninan, always meaning we but not you. Ginan, we plus you. Quinoa, us, all of us, plural. Weenwa, meaning they or them. We focus on these things, and I'm going to get into some things here in a few minutes so that we can kind of share some of this stuff. Next, you have to learn some tense markers. Keep in mind that I said these are the building blocks. These are the things that you need in order to be able to speak Potawatomi. Very simple phrases. So there are independent tense markers. Duh. Duh is referring to a very present tense marker. Guh. Guh, the sound guh, immediate present tense marker. Immediate future tense marker. When I say immediate future, it refers to something that you might do in the next few seconds, the next few minutes, or even an hour or so. So, g. We is a future tense marker. Gi is a past tense marker. Da, can, could, should, and sometimes would. It can mean all those things. Now, these are all independent tense markers. There are some subordinate tense markers also that we taught. Wa, future tense marker, where you supply information used in questions also. Ga, past tense marker used in questions and supplying information. Ewi, immediate future tense, future factive. Ewi. Egi is a past factive, an action that occurred in the past, in other words. Is a factive demonstrating several aspects of other tense markers. You can use with ewi, egi, those kinds of things. And the next thing that you should have on your agenda as far as your learning are demonstrative pronouns. The first are emphatic pronouns. Emphatic pronouns tell you who. Demonstrative pronouns tell you something a little bit different. Demonstrative pronouns are always used from the speaker's point of view. So let's refer to it as speaker's POV. And it talks about the proximity or the closeness of the object to a speaker. Determines which demonstrative pronoun that you're going to use. The demonstratives are in English like this, that, these, and those. And they can fall into categories of animate things that are alive or living. And also inanimate, things that are not alive or contain no life of their own. Things that are inanimate or could be animate or inanimate or possess a certain degree of animacy, we will use oda, e, form of demonstrative. And I'm going to explain some of this now in detail here. So the animate forms of some of these demonstratives are oda, meaning this, oda, this, that, that over there, oda, this, that, that over there. The second set, oda, this, o, that, ago, that over there. Now, both those sets can be used in an animate sense. Goda is plural. Goda, these. Gi, those. Gi, those. Egi, those over there. Those over there. Let's give you some examples of these things, okay? If I were to say oda nana, I'd be talking about this man. If I said nana, that man. If I said nana, that man over there, that's what I'd be saying. So that's a demonstration of oda, from the animate sense of a demonstrative pronoun. Now, if I were to talk about oda kwe, if we're going to talk about men, let's talk about women too. We got to be fair. Oda kwe, this woman or this kwe. O kwe, that kwe or that woman. Ago kwe, that kwe over there, that woman over there. So let's pluralize that. Goda kwek, goda kwek, these kwek or these women. Gi kwek, those kwek or those women. Egi kwek, those kwek over there or those women over there. We were doing this one time in demonstration, giving examples, and my mother happened to be there. And we were talking like this, and the linguist was talking, and she was saying, "Goda kwek, gi kwek, egi kwek," she was saying, and explaining what she meant by that. And my mother and two other ladies were sitting there together, and they looked at each other and kind of chuckled, "Quack, quack, quack." Some of those elders can have a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know how the linguist felt, but we all laughed. We all chuckled about it. And if we're going to talk about women, we're going to talk about men too. Let's pluralize nana. Godin and weak. These men. By the way, goda kwek means these women or these kwek. Gi kwek, those kwek. Egi kwek, those kwek over there. So if we're going to say godin and weak, these men. Gin and weak, those men. Egi and weak, those men over there. So it's the proximity. Close, not close, far away, in other words. And you have to remember those things. Now, that was for animate, okay? Let's talk about inanimate for a second. Oda. Again, we're going to run into that oda, e. I said that could be used both animate and inanimate. Oda, this. E, that. That over there. Now, the plural inanimate is noda. Noda, these. Ni, those. Ani, those over there. Noda, these. Ni, those. Ani, those over there. Singular, oda, e. Now, let's give you some examples using oda, first of all. Oda jiman, this boat or canoe. E jiman, that boat or that canoe. E jiman, that boat over there or that canoe over there. Now, let's take another article. Odem kazin, this shoe. Im kazin, that shoe. Eim kazin, that shoe over there. Let's do it one more time, so just for reference. Odajiman, this boat. Ijiman, that boat. E.g. man, that boat over there. You could also use the word canoe if you want, like the word boat. Odem kazin, this shoe. Im kazin, that shoe. Eim kazin, that shoe over there. Now, if you want to pluralize these things, you have to change some things, okay? Noda, we're going to use noda. Nodem kaznin, these shoes. Nim kaznin, those shoes. Enim kaznin, those shoes over there. Nodem kaznin, nim kaznin, enim kaznin. Those shoes, these shoes, those shoes, and those shoes over there. These, those, and those over there. Close, not close, far away. So it's kind of simple when you look at it that way. Now let's take another word. Let's use the word bell. But we're gonna pluralize the word bell first of all. Noda titaganin. Noda titaganin. Ni titaganin. Any titaganin. Once again. Noda titaganin. These bells. Ni titaganin. Those bells. And ni titaganin. Those bells over there. Quite simple when you start to kind of talk about these things in that way. These bells, and those bells over there. So those are some examples, just to illustrate some things. You have to keep in mind that there are affixes in the language. Sometimes we say affixes are prefixes and suffixes, but they're called affixes. Affixes fall into two categories. Prefixes, those little words, in other words, we put in front of or before other words. They can sometimes be referred to as preverbs and pronouns. They don't usually stand alone, these kinds of things, and must be used as preverbs or pronouns, like I said. Like the word ba. If I said baggy juk all day, baggy juk. Ba cannot just stand alone by itself. Like the word no madzawan. Madzawan is the way we live or life. If I said no madzawan, good life. But if somebody asked me, oh, no, I can't say no. You can't use no that way. It sounds awkward. Oh, when it no madzian, there'd be a number of different responses I could have for that, okay? Now, suffixes are those little words that we add to the end of nouns and verbs. They determine who we are talking about or to, and generally take on singular and plural forms as well. And those are things that we have to be careful of. We're going to demonstrate some of those things in future things. I'm going to be doing a lot of this, so look for me often on this YouTube channel. Now, interrogatives, okay? Interrogatives are questions. Some examples. Ni pija can mean where, but it's also an interrogative. Ni pija. Ni japi can mean when, but it's, like I said, and also an interrogative. Ne is an interrogative also. If you say ne within the context of a sentence, somewhere in the text of a sentence, it usually refers to a question and can sometimes be at the end of a query. Ne can sometimes refer to the beginning or start of something also. Here's a little example, for example. Nijapi nagwi jiayan. Nijapi nagwi jiayan. When are you going to start out to go over there, is what I just said to you. See, when you use na in that sentence context, it's no longer just an interrogative. It's asking about when you're going to start something. In addition to learning these kinds of building blocks and learning this language, you have to have a certain amount of knowledge of verbs and nouns also. how to use them in various situations, everyday use. Egamagijik, we say, everyday use, and whatever may be appropriate for them, okay? One cannot learn one word at a time, but you must be able to use whatever you're learning in an everyday context. You won't be able to learn to speak any language simply by using a dictionary. It's not possible. The dictionary doesn't give you enough information on the building blocks. Perhaps one might at least get some better direction using perhaps a lexical type of work that cites examples of word usage. You don't have too many of those on Potawatomi. There are a few out there on Ojibwe. I've seen quite a few, older ones as well as newer ones. So let me repeat. The one thing that you need a knowledge of are emphatic pronouns, tense markers, demonstratives, affixes, and you need to learn how to use questions. So I'm going to be back often. These are short little things. I don't want to clutter somebody's mind up. I don't want to write on something. I'd rather just talk so that you can exercise your brain to start to remember things and listen. Use your ears and listen to things. We are acclimated, in a sense, to everything written for us. And if it's not in a book, if it's not in a sheet of paper like this here, then we can't remember it, and that cripples the mind, in my opinion. You need to learn to use your brain and keep this stuff up here in your brain. You have a file cabinet there. God gave you a file cabinet. He gave you retentive powers to remember things. If you don't exercise those retentive powers, it's just like an arm. If you don't exercise your arm, your muscle gets weak and flaccid after a while. The same thing with your brain. So I'm not going to be writing much. I might write once in a while. One thing, I hate writing. Okay, so that's my short little lesson for you today. What do I do now?
Red button.